After today's orgy, would you like to take a 3-question survey?
And please rate the performance on a scale of 1 to 5.
Would you recommend this orgy to
Like, no, sir. No, I would not.
your friends and family?
Howdy, everybody.
Hey, Agent Nil, Carrie, Kinnair, Ducks in Disguise, welcome everyone. Since we're done ranking the orgy, let's go ahead and get the show started. Welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 135, and today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Blue Williams, and I will be your host for this evening. But of course, as you can see, I am not alone. I do have two fine co-hosts with me. Please congratulate my first co-host who has finally joined the PS5 family. He now has 8K graphics, 10.28 teraflops, and ray tracing acceleration, all with which to not play Bloodborne.
Man, you got me pegged so well.
Phrasing?
Okay.
Whoa.
Please say hello to Ryan Payne, aka Retro Game Brews.
I'm feeling very fulfilled right now.
I am to please.
Pegging fulfilled? Wow.
And my second co-host has just finished the final chapter of his memoir, I'm Done Shopping, the story of how I lied and bought everything at PRGE. Please say hello to the one and only Donnie G.
I even bought things that I thought I needed and I didn't. And when I got home, I looked, I was like, oh, son of a... And then it was like a good, I'd say $40 or $50 worth of stuff that I didn't need. But,
yeah, but see, your needs change moment to moment. In that moment, you needed them badly.
That's true. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, that's when the regret sits in. It's always afterwards. You do the thing in the moment, and then afterwards, it's like, ugh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Did that come out in your post-orgy ranking survey?
Yes, it did.
Thought I needed it at the time.
Yep. And then afterwards, the regret. So much regret. All right, let's get the show started with our reviews, reactions, and requests. At Mind of Mercy says, sadly, Nintendo will win the Pal World lawsuit, and when they win, we all lose.
Nintendo will be winning a lot of things, and we're all going to lose again. So I can say that this is certainly part of a pattern.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At Tricky McMinnon said, I think the Pal World lawsuit will be a really tough legal battle for Nintendo, considering all the other companies making similar creatures.
Right.
I don't necessarily think this is a slam dunk for Nintendo. I think it's a stretch. It's a little bit of a stretch. They're just kind of like throwing the dart at the dartboard, seeing what will stick. If they win, great. But if they don't, I don't know how badly this is going to affect Nintendo.
Everybody's rooting for Pocket Pair.
Right. Well, and honestly, I mean, Nintendo has done a bunch of lawsuits that they've lost. They lost the Atari one eventually. They lost the one against Blockbuster. So, they're in good company. Pal World in this one.
I love how everyone in the chat is just expressing complete disbelief that Donnie spent too much money at PRG.
What? You don't know me.
And then finally, at Ben Magnet 27 said, loved the counterfeit game story. They saved so many grandmas from buying their family members a fake system and bringing disappointment.
Except for Blue, who loves hers.
I love mine. I guess I don't have the shitty ones. The ones I have, I really like. So
I don't think I have ever owned one of those knockoffs, and I don't plan on ever owning one.
I'm with you, Donnie. I'm with you.
Solidarity.
All right, well, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Ducks with Thick Thighs, absolutely the best podcast. Wizard of Zardoz, Bobson Dugnut, Blues Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retro Blast Pat, BNT Zillaguy, already missing Donnie G's luscious lips. They did put in overtime this weekend at the RGE. Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, AGL 2020, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Sir Coffrey of House Blend, first of his name, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, The Pixel Pond Family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, #1 Blue Sick Voice fan, John Veron, Sony with the Smashing Pumpkins, Evo Lust, Rai Russ Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gamatroid, Maura Deeb, Michael LeKite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, The Real Retro Game Brews, and Fruitcakes Pickled Pepper. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, let's move on to the headlines.
This headline's this headline segment is sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic family-friendly retro gaming podcast, and in each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they're playing through D&D, Treasure of Tarmin, and Marble Madness. Visit them at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. I hate Marble Madness so
Yes,
much.
100%. Because, like, when you're a kid and your parents get you a game and you're kind of forced to learn to love it, even if it's a terrible game, because you really didn't have very many games. That theory did not work with Marble Madness because it's so frustrating and infuriating, and it's not nearly fun enough to keep trying.
And the thing is, like in the arcade, you've got the trackball and it's like intuitive, so it's a lot easier to play. When you play that on the NES, because it's like a 3/4 down viewpoint, it's and when you turn the corner, kind of like the perspective changes, so you don't know if you're if you need to press the left side of the D-pad or the right side of the
Absolutely.
D-pad. Oh my god,
Hmm.
it's so hard to follow.
Like Marble Madness is one of those games you kind of love to hate. As a
Mm-hmm.
kid, yeah, it was fun. It's like but then you play
Was
that
it?
game for a competition. It was kind of fun. Okay, well, like Ryan said, in the arcade, it was great because you have the trackball and whatnot. But playing it on the NES sucked. Just the biggest thing with the yeah, it
Take
I
your
really
think
time.
we got
Yeah.
the picture, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
it sucks so bad. And I remember playing it for the what's that speed run thing, the NES.
Big 10, yeah,
Yeah,
Big 20 or Big
Big
10.
20, and that was the game that broke me. Like I got through
Mhm.
all the games leading up to that, and I just could not get it. Could not get it. Spent well over 2 hours on it. I'm just like, know what? I can't do this anymore. Stream's done. Shutting it off. Then the next morning, I just casually picked it up, got through it. Like the first try, I'm like, you son of a bitch.
The pressure.
It was too much. Hard to
Yep.
perform under pressure. Can we get a ban hammer on
We
Mr.
are doing
Budding
that
Nail?
right now. Bam.
I already did.
Bye-bye.
I already did.
All right, perf. And then, so Ducks in Disguise says, I played a lot of Marble Madness as a kid. Never got far, but played it a good bit. And Retro says, yeah, I loved Marble Madness too.
And I think one of the things that you're pointing out, Donnie, is too that when you're doing it in a competition, that's a whole different beast, right? Where you're required to
Correct.
be as precise because you have so much pressure and you're trying to do it as fast as possible. So if you're speed running Marble Madness, it is a awful, awful game. But if you're just playing it casually, I'm sure it's a lot less stressful overall.
Yeah. it
Not
is.
much. Not any less awful though.
No, not any less
Yeah,
awful.
it's definitely frustrating. I will say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the week's headlines. First up, California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed AB 2426, a new law that requires digital marketplaces to make clearer to customers when they are only purchasing a license to access media. The law will not apply to cases of permanent offline downloads, only to the all too common situation of buying digital copies of video games, music, movies, TV shows, or ebooks from an online storefront. The law could see marketplaces facing fines for false advertising in the state if they don't use clear language to explain the limitations of what access entails. In other words, you won't be saying language like buy or purchase once the law takes effect in 2025. Who would have thought a good idea would come out of California?
You think about it too, it's like a hub for gaming, so maybe that's where it all comes from. But I love this idea of uh, trying to educate the consumer as much as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as soon as you see the ad that's saying that basically you are leasing this game from them, people are going to be like, I'm going to look a little bit more into this, right? And as a result of that, hopefully, uh, maybe they'll consider physical media a little bit more.
Well,
Probably not.
I mean, the same rules apply, right? Whenever you
Sure.
buy something physical, yeah, you own the rights to that particular disc or cassette or what have you. It's not like you can go ahead and pop that on and play it for people and charge them admission to do whatever. That's just common sense.
Hmm.
But knowing that I have this particular piece of media that I can play at any given point in time, and not just something like, oh, I downloaded it or I rented it. Yeah, I should have access to it constantly. Like, no, no, no. That's you. The idea of renting something is like you have it for a certain period of time and then you give it back. Which is, I mean, that's to me again, that's common sense. But again, I grew up in a different time, so things are a little bit more clear for me. So
I'm not one of those millennial kids.
yeah. What does this mean? Let cool before eating.
So, two thoughts come to mind with this. Is one is that it's not actually going to stop companies from doing this. It's just going to make them change their language. So I
Right.
don't
Sure.
think it's probably going to affect their sales, quote unquote sales whatsoever. I don't think it's going to motivate people to do more physical media because a lot of stuff isn't available physically anymore, and then also like TV shows, you don't buy TV shows anymore. Most people don't buy movies or music anymore. Um, but then also, like, even just thinking specifically for video games, a lot of stuff is only a digital download anyway, even if you buy the physical
Oh yeah.
edition of it. You have to download 90% of the game in a day one patch or whatever. So it really doesn't stop that loophole. Also, I still think they're only going to change this verbiage in California and leave it as it is everywhere else.
Right.
So this is more of like a symbolic victory
Sure.
as opposed to something that's going to make any sort of meaningful change as far as I can see.
It may influence other states to take up that mantle as well. It may, influence other countries in Europe or Asia to make similar rulings, which I have no problem with. I think again, it's all about knowledge for the consumer, which is always important, right? You need to know exactly what you're spending your money on. That's why we have rules about things like what you can put on certain packages. That's why you can't call Kraft singles cheese. You have to call it cheese food because it's not, it's less than 50% cheese,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there could certainly this could be the start of a campaign to influence more. Is it going to do that? I can't, I don't think it. I can guarantee that it's even going to make sense long term in California. But again, the possibility is there. Kudos to California for taking the lead on this.
Mhm. All right. Next up, Steam just removed its forced arbitration policy, opening the door for lawsuits against its parent company, Valve. In an update on Thursday, Steam says its subscriber agreement now provides that any disputes are to go forward in court instead of arbitration. Many
Mm,
companies include a forced arbitration clause in their user agreement, waiving a person's right to a trial in court. Arbitration involves settling a dispute outside a legal system before an impartial third party. This method is often faster, but may not get the best results for consumers, as arbitrators don't need to consider the law when issuing a decision. Steam doesn't say why it decided to suddenly remove the forced arbitration clause. As pointed out by 404 Media, a group of plaintiffs recently challenged Valve's forced arbitration policy and were able to file a class action lawsuit over Steam's dominance.
Steam didn't say it, but that's your reason right
Yeah.
there.
So they remove the forced arbitration, which I guess did find a lot of things in Valve's favor. Maybe.
Hmm.
Who knows? But now it's forcing people to go to court. That's going to be a very big risk for one person to go to court against Valve.
Right.
That was my thought. Is this in some ways it seems like a win because as it says arbitration is only supposed to be judged by a third party as to what is fair, not necessarily what the law actually says.
Right.
So by forcing people to go uh into court if they want to sue Valve, on the one hand, yes, now actually the letter of the law will come into play, but on the other hand, isn't it going to be way more expensive now?
Mm-hmm.
Because who can really afford the kind of lengthy trial that Valve can afford?
And this isn't the UK where if you're suing somebody and you win, they have to pay your legal fees on top of any damages that you might have. In the US, that we don't have that rule. And so realistically, you're right. This could be cost prohibitive for somebody who has a legitimate case against Valve and isn't able to bring it up. And the other piece to it is potentially things like slap lawsuits where they put gag orders on things that people can talk about. There's a lot of different tactics that corporations get involved with from the legal standpoint of being able to push down lawsuits like this. So it's arbitration isn't like the best solution though, because again, like you said, it's not necessarily always going to give the results that you would expect or desire. But uh, I think I think we nailed it on the head here. They're trying to make it so that it's almost impossible to sue them unless you have deep pockets yourself.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that something that does happen in U.S. the legal system? Is
You
that
can you can make it part of that, so you can
you?
say that if the lawsuit was like frivolous, right, then you can request that they pay for it, but it isn't an automatic thing, right?
Right,
So
right,
if it's a
yeah.
legitimate case, right?
Well,
So if
from
you lost that case, you would be up what creek
yeah,
without a
you'd be
paddle.
SOL. But most of the time, if you have a legitimate slam dunk, a legitimate reason for suing somebody
Mhm.
in a lawsuit, you can request that they pay your attorney's fees or your legal's fees. But I think you have to, like you said, it's not automatic, but you have to request it's done.
Right, and
Hmm.
that means the judge decides rather than
Yeah,
yeah.
and then the judge could be in their pocket. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, this may not change too much because suing a corporation as big as Valve is always going to be like a fool's errand unless you can get enough people with you to really have a solid case like these folks that it mentions in the article. But
And
that's a
that's
tough
a
sell no matter how you slice it.
right, and with class action lawsuits, I think you have to establish that it's affected a large group of people.
Of
Um,
course.
so that one's a tough sell as well. Um, and you know what the worst part too about those class action lawsuits is like the lawyers take like 40% off the top
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get a measly $10 or $5 or whatever
Right.
it is.
Hmm.
I mean, I've definitely signed up for one where I've gotten in the mail. I'm like, all right, put my name on it, boom, and I get like a check for $8. It's like
Yeah,
Ooh,
I didn't
eight
have
that's
any.
eight
bucks.
bucks.
That's a
Yeah, I
Yeah,
big
didn't have.
one.
Mhm. Look at me.
Sam Disfaction says, imagine winning that trial. Yeah, I got back my $30 for the game I sued Valve about. The $10,000 was totally worth it.
It's about the principle.
yeah. Principalities.
All right. Next up, the next generation of Xbox consoles reportedly could include both a console and a handheld. According to Windows Central, Microsoft is taking another two-pronged approach to the Xbox hardware market like it did with the Series X and S. The plan is reportedly to have a traditional style successor to the Series X, as well as a handheld gaming option similar to that of the Steam Deck. It's currently unclear what this approach would end up looking like, but if the handheld is anything like the Steam Deck, players will likely be able to play their digital purchases and bounce between the handheld and the console. Yes, Donaldo, raising your hand.
This hasn't worked out for Sony. It
I was just about to say that.
Steam that hasn't worked out for Steam. Nope, not people aren't going crazy for the Steam Deck or anything like that. Why are you trying to get into the handheld market when that is clearly Nintendo's backyard? And I'm not saying
So
like
I'm gonna. Oh, good. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying it's I'm not like I'm saying you can't or that Nintendo solely owns that. It's like that's just a fool's errand.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here,
Okay.
because the thing that didn't work well with PlayStation was that realistically, it was console gamers that play the PlayStation would more than likely be interested in the PlayStation handhelds, right? The Steam Deck, it's like you're a PC guy, right?
Yeah.
So you're interested in the PC. With this, it's like a hybrid of both, right? You can capture both console and PC gamers with this device because Microsoft itself is both, right? They are a console producer as well as they provide software for PCs. So, and you can get Xbox Game Pass on both if you want to. So, what I'm saying is that they might be able to skirt that line a little bit and be much more, we'll say, desirable by both crowds. Is that going to happen? Knowing Xbox and the things that they've done in the past, probably not. I'm very skeptical that this is going to have any impact whatsoever because, like you said, Nintendo seems to have that whole entire handheld market cornered, and anybody who wants handheld gaming knows exactly where they need to go. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Ducks
it's possible, is what I'm saying. It's not.
Right.
It's not the most foolhardy decision I've ever heard.
Ducks in Disguise says Game Pass handheld with compatibility across their PC and Xbox libraries, though, I'd be into it. The Steam Deck has its limitations.
That's
Retro
not.
Retro says, I'll buy one and never use it.
Yeah. And that right there is not a bad idea, being able to have the Game Pass library with your Steam library as well. But
Right.
does that mean, am I still locked down to my own residence where, like the PlayStation Portal, you can only play that where
No.
the PlayStation's at?
See that if there's any fault in the PlayStation Portal, it's that they decided to tether it to your
Right.
house and to your existing PS5. Xbox would be stupid to do that same thing, and I don't think they will. I think they'll go more of like a Steam Deck approach, but like everybody in the chat is saying, this is Game Pass is driving this. It'll be a portable Game Pass machine, and I think that'll be killer.
Give me Wi-Fi access on this thing to where I can sit outside the local Super 8 motel with free Wi-Fi in my car and just play on my new Xbox handheld. That's all I want.
Donnie's clearly given this a lot of thought.
I'm only taken from a playbook of a friend of mine who used to do that. He would go, he would, he didn't have Wi-Fi, he didn't have internet, so he'd go to the Super 8 in the morning. He'd sit outside and on his phone, read the news, go inside, grab a cup of coffee, get the free breakfast, and come back out and do some more internet scrolling, and then be about his day.
This guy is living on a different plane of existence.
Right. He probably only got mugged like 6 or 7 times too. It's fine.
Did I tell you, like a few months ago, I walked into a McDonald's and there was a guy who had his laptop up and he's got his, Razer headset on and he's playing or whatever. And I realized that he was streaming on Twitch because he was like, "Oh yeah, make sure that you sub to my channel."
What?
I was like, this MFer is playing Fortnite on Twitch in McDonald's using their free Wi-Fi. It's like, that's genius, man.
As long as he continues to buy a cup of coffee or something like that,
Right.
then yeah, they can't kick him out. That's their policy.
Excuse me, guys. I'm feeling an apple pie. I'll be right back.
Right. But see, here's the thing. Because if Microsoft wants to do another two-pronged approach to the next generation, I'm really glad there's going to be such a difference. Like, this is the console
Right.
and this is the handheld, instead of we've got two consoles with almost identical names and nobody knows what they're supposed to buy. And some games work on some of them, but not all of them. I think this is going to be so much clearer.
Retro says, I couldn't stream from McD's. I'm already fat enough.
That would just be an enabler at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Satisfaction says, and the way the handheld could have the power of an Xbox Series X for not that much and keep developing games for the same gen, which would be as good as the next gen. I agree. I think, again, one of the things that we're seeing, at least at the beginning of an console's lifespan, is that often all the games, right, are compatible with the previous generation. So makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah. Hybrid Divide says Xbox Series Y 720 nose grind portable. Pre-orders open now.
That's just the test name, right? The hidden name, like the Sega Katana or something like that.
Right. They're working on it. They're workshopping it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, remember the day before, the once hyped game that had such a disastrous early access launch that its developer, Fantastic, announced its closure just days later? In yet another bizarre development to what was already a strange saga, the Twitter account for Fantastic has resurfaced, announcing a Kickstarter campaign asking for your help again to bring Fantastic back. The post links to a website which claims to lay out the details for Fantastic's next moves, including an FAQ, a PDF detailing its recovery plan, contact info, a merch page, and more. What's more, the website even includes details and links to a new multiplayer co-op game, Escape Factory. A free demo is currently available available via its Steam page, and a Kickstarter page is looking to raise $15,535 to bring the game to fruition. As of yesterday, the campaign had received $2,365 in pledges by 45 backers.
So all I see here is the Bernie Sanders meme of, once again,
Mm-hmm.
I am asking for your support.
Yep. So you guys remember this game?
I don't off the
No.
top of my head.
Yeah. So we talked about it on the show. It was at one point it was the most wish listed game on Steam. It
Right.
was
Okay.
supposed to be open world survival MMO zombie
Ah,
game.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then it turned out there was like 2 blocks. You couldn't go in the buildings. You couldn't jump. Like there was a zombie, like, you know, very sparingly. And they just ended up, after I think a day or two, giving everybody full refunds, and the studio shut down because it was so bad.
So you botched that game,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're asking for the public's help in getting more money to make a new game, which you're probably going to botch that one as well. That track record is not very good right now.
No, and it's interesting because that wasn't actually that long ago. So this new game that they have, Escape Factory, it's got to be half-assed either way you look at it. Where they were trying to pour, like that was their excuse for the day before, is that they didn't have enough resources.
Right.
So were you trying to tell me that you're working on Escape Factory when every single penny of resources that you have should be going to the day before because
Yeah.
you promised so many people that game? Or did you just start working on Escape Factory after the studio closed? And this is like somebody's project that they had on their laptop or something. They're like, I know this will save the company, because they only want $15,000 to finish the game. I mean, what kind of game are you going to get for $15,000?
I don't know.
I know what kind of game I would get for $15,530, but the 35—that's where I just...
5 extra. I'm out. That's too much
Right.
money.
It's very, very, very specific.
That's where you draw that line, is the extra $5.
Sorry, guys, we can't do it. We're short $5.
So
Sam Disfaction says, "Does it have NFTs?"
Oh
God,
God,
no.
that hurts.
Oh God, no.
Right there.
Okay, Escape
Right.
Factory. Give me just a second. I want to take a look at this thing and see what it looks like on Steam.
It's Sudoku.
Yeah. Escape Factory on Steam. Okay, I'm looking at it, and it looks like a Minion Rush game.
Yay.
It's basically
Minion
so
Rush?
what I'm looking at is Fall Guys, where
Okay.
a bunch of those like wobbly little things are running around, and there's traps and stuff like that which knock you off, and it's basically Fall Guys.
Okay, a Fall Guys ripoff. This is going to save the company.
It's an isometric Fall Guys. That's all it is.
Ugh.
Rambowski says, "I got 5 on it."
I got 5 on it.
Lemmings, yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Lemmings. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. Fantastic. Don't think that's probably gonna. What actually surprises me though is that they managed to get 45 people who had that much faith in them. That, what does that math work out to, Ryan? You're good at math.
The top of my head here. You know what?
Top of my head calculator on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually pull out a calculator
Don't
for
cheat.
this one. 2365 divided by 45. That's $30 a person.
Every
Wow,
cult has
30
those
bucks.
dedicated few, right?
I guess that must be some strong Kool-Aid. All right, and last up, a video game based on the Rocky Horror Picture Show is coming. Timed for the spooky season, the game will be available on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and Steam this October. The trailer features iconic moments from the musical set in a retro-styled side-scroller. It also hints at how Richard O'Brien's score has been reimagined, giving a snippet of a chiptune rendition of The Time Warp. Since its premiere in June 1973 at the Royal Court, the Rocky Horror Picture Show has been seen by over 30 million people worldwide in more than 30 countries and translated into 20 languages.
I'm disappointed. I think that this should have been a Parappa the Rapper clone. if you think about it, right? Rather than punch, kick, it would be like take a step to the left, take a step
Right.
to the right, put your
Put your
hands on
hands
your
on your
hip.
hips.
Sounds like a cat just got stepped
Hybrid
on.
Divide says it's just a jump to the left, right, left, be a
There we go.
starter.
See,
This is a horrible idea. It's
This
horrible
is a
because
great idea.
what's next? Cats, the video game. Fiddler on the Roof, the video game.
Tradition.
Jersey Boys, the video game. No. This is
I
not a
think-
video game at all. These should not be video games.
So based off of Blue's reaction, I think what it is of course it's a nostalgia grab, right? So
Of course.
every weird kid out there that grew up liked Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? So if you didn't go to all the parties, chances are you watched Rocky Horror Picture Show, myself included.
Right, exactly.
So there's certainly that like, ooh, I wonder what it could be. I'm excited for it, but it's it's a retro style side scroller. I don't know where in the plot you could do all of these things as a retro inspired side scroller. So
Yeah.
this sounds to me like it's a modern day LJN game.
Oh, come on. No, I mean, at least it's gonna function.
You
Fair,
hope.
but
That's not a guarantee.
what it sounds like to me is they took a game that they were making and they're like, you know what would be great? We got the license for Rocky Horror Picture Show. Steve, you're a fucking genius. And you know what? It worked because we're talking about it. So
Yeah, I think you both are party poopers. I'm gonna be honest.
Again, I will definitely check this out when it comes out. If it's $69.99, I'm not buying it. I'll tell you that for sure. Right? But if it's
Mhm.
cheap, it'll be worth even just for the lulls, if you will. Right? Maybe you get to play as Tim Curry's character, right? I'm not gonna say his character's name because I don't think that we use those terms anymore. But nonetheless, as far as things
Frank
go,
and Furter. You can just say that.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
What the hell?
That's his name, Dr. Frankenfurter.
What terms are we not using there?
It has to do with the trans portion of it.
Frankenfurter?
No. Never mind. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm confused. Okay.
Yeah. it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay, a side-scrolling platformer, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the game. It doesn't. You could make it more like a one where you had to explore the mansion and complete different missions, talk to different people, blah blah blah. And you're probably right. They probably were working on some other game, and let's just slap the Rocky Horror coat of paint on it and call it good. I don't care. I love Rocky Horror. I think this is gonna be fun. And even just to play it for the chip tunes and for the fan service to go, I remember this scene, I remember this part, blah blah blah. I am not that susceptible to fan service most of the time, but
Just
got me
because
with
I
this one.
love A Few Good Men doesn't mean I need it in a video game. And I mean the movie, A Few Good Men, the movie.
Sure you
Let's
do.
be clear.
Sure you do. It's okay. We don't kink shame here.
I like to order in Five Guys while I watch A Few Good Men.
Rocky Horror Show.
How big is
so-
your couch?
It's a huge couch. It's a Ducks in Disguise level couch. Satisfaction
So-
says Rocky Horror Show, the Dead by Daylight version. Donnie would buy it.
Yes.
You're not wrong. I think I would buy it at that point if they slapped that cover on the game.
Mhm. So yeah, I'm gonna get it. Maybe
Well,
we'll
you-
stream it.
You get it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If they have anything that shows what the gameplay looks like, then it's a maybe. It's not a no right now. I'm kind of against the whole musical thing and the money grab for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But if it turns out to be a decent game, yeah, it might be worth playing.
I mean, there's a trailer, didn't you watch it?
No?
Okay. Well, there's a trailer. It shows
Uh,
the gameplay.
Well, okay.
Side-scrolling platformer.
Things that could
kind
have
of
been
in
brought to my attention yesterday.
I will say it may be worth the price of admission just to hear Chiptune's Time Warp. That may be. But again, like I said, it depends on how much this game is going to be. And if it's more than $10, I am out.
Emote. There's a few scenes that I'm wondering how it's going to go. Like you play as Frankenfurter and you have to hop into the obstacles to get into the bed or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Tiptoeing around, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's a stealth mission.
I'm looking at this. It's clearly NES nostalgic. Like maybe Maniac Mansion a little. Okay. All right. I was completely I am an adult.
One of us.
I
One
can
of us.
admit when I am wrong, and just by seeing how it looks like Nintendo-esque, I think I'd like to play this game. Please don't hold that against me, please.
Wow, that was such an easy sell for you, right?
I know.
I'm against
NES
this.
graph.
This can't be done. Oh, okay. I'm not always wrong. Retro. Nuh-uh.
I think you're wrong about that too.
What?
Shh, don't think about it.
Yeah, hurts my brain.
All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
Kill Knight. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Kill Knight is an ultra-responsive arcade-inspired isometric twin-stick shooter. Say that 5 times fast. Condemned to eternal sufferance deep within the voids of an eldritch arena, you must wield an arsenal of devastating weaponry to obliterate swarms of otherworldly horrors and master the demon within. Horrors. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Step into Patrick's shorts and create hilarious physics-based mayhem as you make the open world of Bikini Bottom your playground in this sandbox action-adventure game. Starfield Shattered Space, Xbox Series X and S, PC. Shattered Space is a new story expansion for Starfield, Bethesda Game Studios' epic role-playing game and first new universe in more than 25 years. A mysterious power stirs in the city of Dazra on House Varun's hidden homeworld. Investigate a frightening cosmic threat, explore a new planet, and find unique weapons, spacesuits, and gear in this all-new adventure. And based on those 3 amazing descriptions, Blue, what are you going with this week?
So, Starfield Shattered Space, did not play the base game, so not going to play the DLC. SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, does not look good to me. The main thing that's kind of bugging me is that when you watch the trailer, the characters' voices sound like they're all made by the same person.
Oh,
Okay.
And it's not whoever made the voices in the cartoon. And so I
It's
don't know if I can
AI.
get past that. Could be. It's a deal breaker for me. I don't know. Maybe if the reviews come back and everybody says it's just amazing, it's game of the year, whatever, then maybe I'll look at it. But as of right now, it's not for me. That leaves me with Kill Knight, which actually looks fantastic. It looks like if Hades was a shooter. And normally I don't go for twin stick shooters, but this just looks so cool. So I am 100,000% in for Kill Knight.
love it.
Very nice. Mr. Ryan, what are you going with?
So same sentiment with Starfield. Wasn't into the base game, so obviously the DLC. Probably not going to go with that unless I decide to pick up Starfield on my new PS5. Oh wait, no, I can't. Darn it. Anyway, SpongeBob. I have played a few SpongeBob games in the past. I've given it a try. I've given it the old college try. I've given them the benefit of the doubt. And never have I played a SpongeBob game that didn't last more than 15 minutes. So I don't think I'll be investing my hard earned dollars in another SpongeBob game. But to your point, Blue, if it comes out to be game of the year, sure, I'll give it a shot. But if I had to go check the Vegas odds on that one, I might just put $1 down right now because
Wow, a
I
whole
would have,
dollar.
I would have a heck of a payout. That's for sure. Kill Knight looks so badass. It's dark and it's got these bright colors that you're interacting with these like cool shooting mechanics and stuff. And I like twin stick shooters. I have I'm not a huge fan of shooters in general, but for some reason that just feels intuitive the way it plays for me at least. Um, so I gotta say, I'm kind of excited for this one, and the fact that it's available on so many different platforms as well,
Hmm.
I think is going to make this game probably very, very popular moving forward. It's going to be one of those underground gems that people talk about, like Vampire Survivors or what have you. Um, so looking forward to this. I'm actually going to call it right now that I think this is going to be a hit. So I'll go with
Nice.
Kill Knight.
Alrighty.
What about you, Donnie?
I share that sentiment exactly. So Starfield, again, I haven't played it. Not going to pick up the DLC. SpongeBob SquarePants, if this is your thing, based on what I'm seeing, I think you're going to love it. But I'm not too big into the whole SpongeBob universe. I'll watch a clip of the show every once in a while, but I was not a diehard fan. Which leaves us with Kill Knight. And when I first saw the gameplay, immediately thought of Smash TV. I love Smash TV. This is a much
Yes.
darker Smash TV with yeah, immediately like if I'm watching the trailer, I think of Castlevania in a sense.
Hmm.
Uh never played Vampire Survivors, but this one the graphics on this look freaking amazing. So I can get behind this 100%. Kill Knight is going to be a smash hit.
Sam Disfaction says, it's my next game as soon as I finish Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm 150 hours in and still a ways off from finishing. So next year sometime, perhaps.
Satisfaction says, "What in God's doing name was Smash TV? Smash TV was a twin
Oh,
stick shooter for
Uh-oh.
the arcade, for the NES, for the Super
Super
Nintendo,
Nintendo, Genesis.
Genesis. It's an amazing. I mean, it is an endurance trial because the waves and waves and waves of enemies coming on and the power ups and stuff like that. You have to do the whole risk reward thing. Is it worth the risk to go and get this power up? And if you do get it successfully, you're rewarded immensely. And the boss fights are amazing. Great soundtrack. Yeah, definitely check that out. Total Carnage was, I think, was it like the sequel to it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Retro might
Um,
be able to tell me otherwise.
yeah, but one of the great things about that as well is that it's very similar to the movie Running Man. In fact, it even
Yeah,
borrows from RoboCop, where it says, "I'd buy that for $1." So
yeah.
there's a lot of nostalgia in that game too. It's great. I love it. Big money, big prizes. All right, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. The podcast is off this week, but there are over 100 episodes in the backlog ready to pleasure your ear holes, including
Ooh.
episode 91, A Gamer Goes to PRGE 2023, a recap. Hey, you know what? I think we're on that one.
I think we are.
Yeah. So this week's question is, what is your bucket list gaming event that you want to attend one day? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at a gamer looks at 40 on Twitter.
Mine was E3. I wanted to go to E3 back in the 90s. Never got that chance. E3 is no more. It will never come back. So I guess now it would have to be something like Summer Games Fest or one of those big announcements where you have, your Keanu Reeves coming out and telling me I'm breathtaking. Moi? Yes, okay. I'd love to attend something like that.
hmm See, I was looking at what are the biggest video game events that come out there, and Statista has actually an article that says where gamers go to stand in queues. So, according to their numbers, the biggest video game convention where gamers go to stand in queues, number one is China Joy with 338,000 attendees. Number two is the Brazil Games Show with 328,000 attendees. And number three is Gamescom, 320,000 attendees. And Gamescom is actually my answer. It would either be that or the Tokyo Game Show.
Ooh, yeah.
Huge shows, so much going on, so many announcements, so much to do, and plus you get to travel to someplace really cool. So those are my two answers.
Nice.
I,
I'm actually gonna go with PRGE. I think that to me was a bucket list show I always wanted to go to. I'd been listening to it about it for years, up until the point of going last year. I loved the kind of the vibe to it when we got there, and how people were just very chill. It was all retro inspired. There was a lot of really great stuff to kind of participate in and be a part of. They put on a heck of a show as far as PRGE is concerned, and so I'm satisfied with saying I've achieved exactly what I wanted to. Right, but
And he can die happy now.
I can die happy. That's right. Speaking of PRGE,
Yeah, speaking of PRGE, instead of gaming history this week or retro rewind or anything like that, let's talk about what we did this weekend.
Are we going to talk about everything we did this weekend?
Maybe not everything we did this weekend.
That's the top tier subscription that you got to pay for.
Gamers Week After Dark.
Donnie, show the pickups already.
Retro is demanding pickups, so that's a good place to start. We went to PRGE again this year. I went to help Pixel Pond with the media team. Me and Mr. Blue did that. And as always, it's a great show, but I really enjoyed it a lot more this year. Maybe some of it was not having the pressure of having to run the blockbuster when nothing was working properly. That certainly helped. It was so much nicer to go around the whole convention just kind of at my own pace, taking photos of whatever caught my eye, and it was a very fun, very relaxing and entertaining weekend. And I think that this year also there was a greater variety of vendors and booths to look at. Last year it seemed like there was a lot of like crafts that weren't that interesting, and then just retro game booths selling a lot of the same stuff. But this year there was a lot more like stickers and pins and stuffies and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely I had a great time.
What is a stuffy?
Like a stuffed toy.
Got it.
Not to be confused with a stiffy.
Unless you have a stuffy stiffy.
Hmm.
You could probably go to the doctor for something like that.
They have great enhancement in male people. Yeah, never mind. We're not going to talk about that.
So I did get a couple things. I got some, don't know if you can see these.
Oh, nice.
Little star earrings that I wore all weekend, but they're pretty sharp on the back, so I had to take them off because I kept jabbing myself in the neck and I didn't want to die. Right. Here is the media badge.
Nice.
See, backstage passes, and attached to that I have this pumpkin pin, which I got from playing a homebrew game called like Halloween 87, something like that. It was a pretty cool little game. And then a pin I got of Pyramid Head.
Pyramid Head.
Nice.
Pyramid Head, nice. So as far as pickups, Mr. Blue has a very strange love affair with shitty games. So he decided that he very much wanted a complete in-box copy of Caveman games.
Oh, okay.
And so every vendor that we went to and said, "Hey, do you have a complete in-box copy of Caveman games, or do you know who does?" They would always get this look like, "Why?"
But why?
But why? So out of like the 30,000 people at PRGE, only 2 booths had complete in-box copies. One, the box was all sun faded, and the other one, the box it had writing on it. So he didn't want either of those. So he settled for the manual.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very pretty manual. We have a copy of it already downstairs, so we'll just have to piece it together. Another thing that we decided we wanted, or he decided he wanted, was complete in box Pinbot.
Are you going to talk about the progression?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's our copy of Pinbot that we had. It's just kind of a crappy label. It's all, scratched and everything, and it looks like the cover like the shiny stuff on the top is pulling off. Anyways, not a pretty copy. So we looked and looked and looked, and it seems like just the way they made Pinbot labels, none of them are really that great. But this is the one we ended up picking up. It's significantly better, though still
Yeah.
not that pretty. And then also found the manual for it
Separately or together?
separately.
Really? So you bought the game, then the manual. Okay.
Then the
But
manual. He
wait,
thought, well,
there's
but
more.
wait, there's more. And then after he'd done that, he found
the
freaking
complete box.
the complete in box. So we now have many, many copies of Pinbot,
They're
which
cornering
is
the
such
market,
an
people.
amazing game because you need this many copies just in case something happens.
That's
Oh.
fantastic.
And you had a Pinbot emergency. Also got a manual for Faxanadu
Nice.
because we have a complete in-box copy of Faxanadu, but when I ordered it, it came with half a manual, like it was ripped in half and just missing the front. So, replacement for that. And also, he decided he wanted complete in-box Maniac Mansion.
Nice.
But that was never going to happen, we were told many times. So, we got that, got the manual. We'll have to find the box at some point. And then last but not least, the coup de grace, my favorite pickup.
Splatterhouse.
Nice.
TG16 Splatterhouse, baby.
TG16. Nice.
Yep.
That was I think that was a night one
the card,
pickup, right?
Yeah, this was the first day I walked past, and because we have the TG16, but I only have like 2 games for it, and just was perusing this one aisle just kind of out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh my god, it's Splatterhouse. And then he said, it's my last one. I had like 5. I've sold them all. You want it? And I was like, I kind of do. He said, I'll knock $25 off the price. I'm like, sold.
Bam, done.
So, yep.
That's usually the kind of deal you find on Sunday.
But if I waited till Sunday, it wasn't going to be there.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
If he had already sold 5 copies, then yeah, that last copy wasn't hanging around.
Yeah. Retro says, if you don't have it already, get Ninja Spirit for TG next. I will look at that. Donaldo, your turn.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't prompted. I didn't know I was on cue. So this year for PRGE, I started looking around, and then I noticed the prices are still a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, a little high.
Convention pricing, yeah.
The convention prices. I'm seeing some of the vendors that came to Missouri for the Mo Game Con. One guy in particular, he still wanted $350 for Slalom, for the black box 5-screw hang tab version of Slalom.
Got it.
And I'm like, that's not a $350 game. I remember seeing it specifically in Tennessee in 2020 for like $75. And I almost bought it, but I was like, man, even that's still a little bit too high priced. So there are several of the black box 5-screw hang tab games that are just going for a ridiculous amount of money, and I'm not going to pay that. So I was looking around, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still seeing the same stuff. I had a few things that I wanted to pick up, but I wasn't seeing those yet. And one of the things that I've been on the lookout for is a Sega Genesis complete in box, which I have several sitting up here on my shelf. But the one I want, the one that started it all, is the Altered Beast version. And with some people still asking like $250, $200 for these things, I was like, for that price, I'm not going to get another box system just for display purposes. But I'm walking by this one vendor, and it's the guy I bought Mega Man X from last year and left it on his table, to where I reached out to him after the show.
Oh yeah.
And he had to ship it to me, and I made a comment and was like, "Oh, if I buy something from you, I'm not going to leave it on your table again." He's like, "Oh yeah, that was you, yeah." And I was looking at the he had the Sega Genesis release, the Altered Beast complete in box, and I'm looking at the price, and I'm like, like $175. I was like, does it got the UPC cut out? And he's like, I think it does. So we look at it, and I asked him if I could open it, and it's got all the baggies and all that stuff. And he's like, man,
Nice.
this guy actually, he wants to get rid of it. I'm pretty sure he'll make you a sweet deal. And here I'm thinking like, do I offer 150? I was like, like I really don't want to spend 150 on it. And before I even say anything, he's like, yeah, he'd probably even let it go for 120. And I'm like, yeah, sold. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, if it's 120, I'll take it. So he goes talk to the guy. He's like, hey, would you sell it for 120? And yeah, there it is. If you look on Twitter at Donnie G Retro, you can see the Sega Genesis that I picked up, and it 120 bucks, bam, right there. That was my first pickup of PRGE. Now I can't show that because it's currently sitting in Ducks in Disguise and Redox PDX's in their house. They're going to be kind enough to ship it back to me, so I wasn't able to take it home. But the other stuff that I did take home and that I did pick up was I was looking for loose copies of Extreme XG2 for the N64 because I already have the box, I already have the manual. I just needed the game. So I did pick up the loose copy to make this complete. I also picked up a loose copy of Hot Wheels Turbo Racing for the N64 because, again, I have the box, I have the manual. I picked up a couple of Sega CD games. Wing Commander, the original Wing Commander for Sega CD. It has a price tag of 20 bucks on it, but this guy Ben, has been at PRGE for a long time, and I met him back in 2019 or 2022, and so he had a deal on Sunday where everything $20 and below was half off. So getting this for $10, which it's got the game, the manual, even the foam little insert for Sega CD thing right there. Another Sega CD game was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Eye of the Beholder. Game, case, no manual. I'll have to pick that up on the secondary market. Another Sega Saturn game, Off-World Interceptor 2 Extreme, $8, knocked down to $4. A PlayStation game called Darkstone. Never heard of it, but it kind of looks interesting, so maybe I want to check that out. The game that I thought that I needed was Doom 64. I bought this for $30, and I come home and I look at my copy of Doom N64, and I go to open it. I was like, this actually feels a little heavy. Doom 64 was in there. So I bought this game, didn't even need it. So I'm going to have to try and sell this one off. Another game that I thought I needed was Mortal Kombat 2 for the 32X. And I saw this is one of the last things that I purchased. And then I get home and I'm looking at the box on my shelf and I'm like, again, it feels heavy. What the hell? It's in there. I was like, why did I have that I needed this game? Well, I have another box and manual for Mortal Kombat 2 for the 32X. So that's why I needed it to complete this other extra copy that I can now sell or use as trade bait. So
you can tell that you're such a collector. You're like, I got two.
It worked out. I did pick up some various pins, which were cool. I'm starting to be a pin junkie. I picked up this nice little Sonic, the Attitude Sonic right here. If you can see in the Sega hat, he's right here in the middle. Pins are starting to become my favorite thing to buy at these conventions. And the last thing that I bought was Donkey Kong 3 for the NES, black box, 5-screw, unpunched hang tab. The manual is a little bit suspect, but I can always get one of those. And then of course I did pick up a manual for Out of This World for the Super Nintendo, just to complete my copy there. So those are my PRGE pickups for this year. I'm very happy. I could have gone to that convention and maybe only spent like $50 or $100, and I would have been completely happy. But I'm still happy with the stuff that I brought home.
Yeah, I think at least 7 times throughout the weekend, Donnie sat down and very definitively said, no, I am done shopping. And then 20 minutes later, he'd have something else.
I thought I was done. And like, I wasn't seeing anything. And then, like Saturday, I think we saw a copy of Dragon Warrior 4. It looked like it had the box. So I'm assuming it was complete in box. Somebody was selling it for $250. And you got other vendors selling that thing for 300 plus. And I'm like, there's got to be something with this thing that's why they're selling it. But then I was like, you know what? If it's still here tomorrow, I might take a look at it. And Sunday comes, I walk in, Can't remember which vendor I saw it at. Can't find it anywhere. Everybody that's selling it is selling it for $350. So
Yeah.
missed it.
Should have grabbed that right when you saw it.
Yep. Now, people in the chat are saying we need a Gamers Week podcast pin. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I guess you could let the cat out of the bag because we're going to try to do that for our patron Christmas gift this year.
Our gift to you.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to become a patron.
Yeah. Patreon.com/GamersWeek if you're interested. But besides just the shopping, it was really fun to see friends. We saw, who old we see? We saw Ducks in Disguise, Red Ox, Davey PGH. We saw Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Hybrid Divide, Mega Retro Man. Who am I missing?
And I like how whenever we first saw Mad
Emo
Milkman,
and Snacks.
Yeah, Emo and Snacks. When we saw Mad Milkman, he mentioned the kissing booth. He's like, I'm ready to do some kissing. And I'm like, what? Oh,
you forgot your one job at PRGE?
Yep.
Man,
the bandhammer's getting a workout today.
Right?
Yeah, that's proof that we made it. If we've gotten more than one, now we've got 3 times we've had to use
right.
it.
Yeah, and then on Sunday we did a little trip to the Nike employee store where I picked up a nice, sweet Bo Jackson Raiders jersey.
Nice.
Yeah. I wasn't going to, but then everybody was like, well,
because I was mocking him mercilessly for it.
Because I wear I've got several I've got several Raiders hats, and I love the classic Raiders logo look and everything. And
not a Raiders fan though.
Not really. I mean, I just like the whole 90s gangster rap, how they wore.
I was going to say, it's NWA, basically.
Yeah. And Ice Cube, how they wore Los Angeles Kings and the Raiders and all that stuff. That's why I like it. And every time like I wear the Raiders hat, she makes this face like, really? Are you really wearing that? Because I guess the Raiders give the Packers so much grief.
Is that true?
No, it's not true.
I was to say, I didn't think they were a rival necessarily. You know?
it's like wearing the band T-shirt when you don't listen to the band. You're wearing the sports team stuff, but you're not a fan.
No.
You just like the look of it.
No, because Bo Jackson has played in video games, Tecmo Super Bowl, and all that stuff. I have a connection to a video game by wearing that jersey. I don't have that connection by wearing a Justin Jefferson jersey or a Justin Herbert jersey or a Christian McCaffrey jersey. Bam. Bo Jackson, greatest ever. End of discussion.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, about to ban
retro. F the Packers. And Blue responds, bans retro.
But yeah, it was a good weekend. The hotel was very nice. The hotel lobby was there. We got to see a lot of different people like Metal Jesus Rocks, John Riggs, Tim Kitzrow, talked him up a little bit. The Mortal Kombat people were there, Daniel Pesina, all the original characters and whatnot. So again, definitely a good PRGE, and we do have something in talks for next year for us to come back and hopefully do something with some sort of quote unquote tournament.
Quote unquote tournament.
Quote.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up the show then. Thank you all for listening to episode 135 of Gamers Week Podcast, and a big thank you to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 Podcast, and Pixel Pond Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes, and also a huge congratulations to Andy, aka Love Retro BTW, on his engagement.
Congrats, Andy.
Congratulations,
Andy. So happy for you. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
So after the incident at Fogo de Show, I should have ran out to the fountain and kind of cleansed myself.
Wait, what incident?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Please go on.
Well, I was referring to the stomach incident or issue that I had while at Fogo de Show that took me away from the table for about a good 20 minutes. But then I'm sitting there and across the table from Blue and Mr. Blue. And the next thing I know, Mr. Blue's chocolate martini.
Espresso martini.
Espresso martini gets backhanded by Blue, and just it goes all over the tablecloth, makes a beeline to me, gets on my phone, gets on my arm, gets on some of my shirt, and I'm just like, really? What did I do to deserve this?
I was probably 3 Caparinias at that point, and I thought maybe you just wanted to taste it.
There's a better way to do that. Maybe just lift the drink up and say, "Hey, would you like a drink?" Instead of like, "Here, taste
No,
it."
I said
Lick the tablecloth.
I said earlier, open wide, and you just didn't hear me.
It's like 4 in golf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there was a lot of meat ingested that night. It was really, really good.
Yeah, it was super fun. We need to make that a tradition for PRGE from now on.
Oh, Hybrid says, I didn't tell you after dinner, just after you all got in your Uber, a damn bird pooped on my shoulder.
Oh, man.
Maybe it had its own Fogo de Show and it was emptying out too. Oh, God.
Don't eat the pate. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. We're going to go ahead and send you on over to One Up John right now, who's streaming the new Legend of Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom. So if you want to check out that game, if you want to see what it's all about before you purchase it, go ahead and check out One Up John, and we'll send you on over there right now. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Right, meow?
Right, meow.
Right, meow.
Right, meow. And stop.